Oh, man. Auburn basketball just landed a stud.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into this special edition of Locked On Auburn. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and joining me, as he does for most situations regarding breaking news, Montgomery radio legend, the Darrell Dapprich. Darrell, Auburn basketball lands a stud. Simon Walker commits to the Auburn basketball program, and of course, Bruce Pearl as well. In-state kid, 6'5", everything you want in a shooting guard. We're really high on this kid.
You know, it's funny. Auburn has the last couple of years gone the route of the hybrid guards, the combo guards.
Yeah.
And I know people have been screaming for a while. Even Justin Powell, who was supposed to be a prototypical two guard, ended up playing some point guard for Bruce before he got concussed.
Sure.
People have been screaming for a while. Can Auburn just get a pure knockdown shooter? And that's Adam Finkelstein, who is the director of scouting for 24/7, talks about how he is just what they call a throwback shooting guard, prototypical shooting guard. And the thing that excites me about it when I did a little deep dive is not only is he capable of hitting that wide open three behind the arc, he's very good at creating his own shot, meaning pulling up off the dribble and creating a shot. And that's a really lost art, Zach, at the college game where people have to run certain sets and do floor spacing. This kid, according to Finkelstein, that reminds me so much of that movie with Ace Ventura. But anyway, can absolutely create his own shots. But, you know, I think for the first time in a long time, Auburn's got that prototypical pure shooter. You know where you plug him in at. He plays the two. He's a shooting guard, old school, and good perimeter rebounder. I guess so. It's 6'5". He's got some good size, but this guy said he's a very good perimeter rebounder. So we'll talk more about his attributes, later on. But that's the things that kind of jumped out at me that I think Auburn fans have been wanting for a while with all this hybrid combo guard stuff.
And something that I've read pretty consistently when folks have kind of written scouting reports or analysis, and not really something that you mentioned there, but how smart he is. I mean, it sounds like this is a guy whose basketball IQ is off the charts. It also sounds like he's pretty impressive when you talk to the kid. It doesn't seem like he's a teenager, which is something that, if you want to play right away, like you're going to have to bring some level of maturity, both physically, emotionally, mentally. And I mean, in this day and age, with how heavy Auburn goes to the portal, if you're being added as a freshman, you're still expected to play. And to me, like, I just don't think you can use a roster spot and say, hey, we're going to stash you here for 2 or 3 years. That's not what college basketball is right now, especially the way Bruce Pearl and Auburn's staff have handled roster management in this transfer portal era. So you ask the question of, okay, well, how can this guy contribute right away? Shooting. And I'm sure Bruce Pearl will coach him into being a pretty good defender as well.
You're right. This day and age of college basketball, and look at the Auburn players that played a lot as a freshman but did not measure up, so moved on somewhere else. I'm not going to mention names. We know 2 guards and a big in the last 2 years that were highly touted. People thought they would play right away. It didn't pan out. Well, the reason why you're able to make that decision and that determination is because you give them minutes. Right. And this is what it is. There no longer are you staying somewhere 4 years, redshirting. Oh, we'll let him develop. Look, he's 175 pounds, but they say he's very, very tough, strong, and competitive. Mm-hmm. And so guys like that are good at back cutting. He's a very hard cutter. That means he knows, when you talk about knowing the game, those components and how to get himself open is very, very key. Get him in the weight room in the offseason too. And look, 6'5", nice frame, add a little bit of strength, good comp. A really good player that I think Auburn has been wanting for a while, of just the pure dead-eye shooter.
Yeah. I mean, you can't have too many shooters on your team. Another aspect of this, that I think is interesting to kind of zoom out a little bit. Let's look at the current state of Auburn basketball right now. Double-digit seniors on this year's team. They'll be gone. They'll be gone. Some will be good enough to maybe make a shot at the NBA, but most of them they're running out of eligibility. And then you got like some freshmen, like maybe Tahad Pettiford's good enough to make a stab at it, to make a run. This roster is going to go through a total, absolute overhaul 12 months from now, or I guess whenever the season is over. And it's going to be super interesting to see how many roster spots this staff is going to fill via the portal and via the high school ranks. And so him getting in early, Simon Walker getting in early, I think is probably strategic to some extent on Simon's part. But also, like, I don't know if Bruce Pearl fully knows what his strategy is going to be to reload the roster after this season.
Yeah, the last couple of years, it's been 2 or 3 kids that he's taken through the high school ranks, and then he's gone heavy in the portal. And obviously, Auburn did that last year with getting 3 or 4 kids totally in the portal. I think it'll be a mixture of both. I do believe that he wants to get back to what I feel is his roots, especially with freshmen being able to contribute and play right away, the one-and-dones that can go on to the next level, like Jabari Smith, Sharif Cooper. Bruce loves those guys. And, if you can get the guys that are making impact right away and don't have to go so heavy in the portal, what if you are able to, because of NIL now, say, look, Sharif Cooper is a cautionary tale of a kid that I feel would have been at Auburn 2 years had NIL been in effect then. Right? He went because of the money, and because same thing with the G League, where some of these kids went to the G League that Auburn lost off. So if you're able to really give somebody what a minimum NBA contract is in NIL or come close to it, you'll get them for another year. That wasn't an option with Sharif Cooper and some of the players that came before.
That's probably why Janai Broom's still on this team.
Amen. I mean, are you telling me that 4 years ago, Janai Broom would have been gone after last year? No, I mean, JT Thor is another example of a kid that went.
He's kind of forgotten, like in recent Auburn basketball memory. Like he's kind of forgotten. He's an NBA guy.
Can you imagine had JT Thor been able to play another year with Jabari and all those guys?
No.
Really? I mean, honestly, Sharif Cooper, Jabari Smith, and JT Thor would have been on the same team had NIL been around and been able to take care of them. So that's why if you get a player at the high school rank that makes immediate impact as a freshman, it's not necessarily now a one and done with NIL. You may get him to stick around year 2, or you may get him on campus to begin with where you wouldn't have in the old G League days because of NIL. You know it, and I know it, that certain NIL packages are a lot more lucrative than G League money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's where it's
unrelated, Janai Broom is back.
Exactly. Connect the dots.
Yeah, but Simon Walker, in-state kid, I love it. And obviously this upcoming class, for the reasons we just discussed, this 2025 class is crucial, is absolutely crucial for Bruce Pearl in the future, this next era, this next wave of Auburn basketball. There were kind of some rumblings this morning about Simon Walker's commitment. And I want to know if you heard the same things, Darrell. Let's jump into that in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel's America's #1 sportsbook. And Darrell, we've talked about it all week. Of course, the line that most of you guys are looking at right now with FanDuel is Auburn being a 2.5-point dog against Oklahoma. Since it's basketball, they do have a line, a futures line for Auburn basketball to win the national championship this year at plus 2,500. Not awful, especially considering all of those. Especially considering all those things. And then to win the SEC, it's just plus 200. So they like Auburn. They like Auburn a lot to win the SEC. So go and check them out. FanDuel, it's America's #1 sportsbook. $5 bet right now. You can get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's at FanDuel.com/lockedon. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. And to all the everydayers out there, thank you. 3 shows today. Super, super cool. Thank you guys for hanging out for all 3 of them. Make sure, if you missed one, go and check them out. Darrell, when I woke up this morning, was kind of checking some of the chatter around Simon Walker committing later today. Virginia Tech, I think, felt really good about their standing with him. In fact, I read several tweets. It was like Virginia Tech. It may have been at the barnauburn.com as well, where you should go sign up for just $1 for your first month. But there was a lot of chatter about, speaking of NIL, Virginia Tech made him a priority. You're nodding your head. I'm assuming you heard the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that stuff, I mean, it makes this a much larger win than it actually is, in my opinion, which is super great.
It tells me, first of all, we know Bruce Pearl visited him last weekend. There was a picture of Simon Walker and Bruce Pearl on the basketball court, arms around each other. So I don't know if Auburn got the last visit or he was visited last by Bruce Pearl. I'm assuming he was. Look, in a day and age where it sometimes comes down to nothing but NIL, where athletes make their decision,
sure,
I am very confident, feel very confident to share with our viewers and our listeners that Auburn was not the highest NIL package. Virginia Tech wanted a lot of, they wanted him very badly. So did Butler, so did Iowa, and so did Clemson. I think that was the other schools that were after him. Pretty good. Oh, and Vanderbilt. So I don't know what they came to the table, but it was a 2-horse race. It was Virginia Tech and Auburn. And I had heard all along in the process, Virginia Tech has more to offer from an NIL package. Okay, that's fine. But where did he want to play and who did he want to play for? So sometimes it's not always about the money. That's refreshing. And it also
what do you think? I mean, he's an in-state kid, so I'm sure that played into,
I also think maybe he wants to play. I mean, look, ACC is an elite basketball league. There's no doubt. They're both.
No question.
But to me, if you look at the trajectory of the programs the last 6-7 years, Auburn's had a lot more success than Virginia Tech. And that might be one of the major factors as well.
I mean, playing time has to be. Bruce Pearl said, hey, we don't have like a roster next year. Like,
well,
the
that's
amount
true.
of guys that are going to come back next year, like we're looking at like, not many at all. And so your path to playing time seems pretty clear. That had to be a factor.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who the other guard is that Auburn has. I'm drawing a blank that another point guard commit in this class that's coming up that's really, really good player. That's a 5-star, I think, from Phoenix maybe. And I don't know why I'm drawing a blank because I was focused so much on Walker. But Auburn is building a nice class, and I think that they are in line for the AJ kid. That's a really good player. He's, BYU's looking at him, but Auburn's in the final 2 there. There's another kid that's got like a foreign-sounding name that Auburn's in. So they could take 4 or 5, and if they do that, Zach, that's exactly what Bruce Pearl is selling to Walker and those other players is come on in out of high school and get immediate playing time. And I may not have to go to the portal as deep if I sign 4 or 5 high school kids. Yeah.
I mean, he's going to have to go to the portal regardless.
Do you have that kid's name that I was talking about that was in the class?
No,
okay. Sorry.
I don't
have it. But maybe someone in the live chat can tell us who that is because he's coming in right behind Pettiford is 2 back-to-back years of 2 really good guards. So
got it. But all in all, I mean, this is the first member of the 2025 Auburn basketball class. It's always kind of different to see like how basketball handles it versus football. Like the rankings, like Auburn's 50th. They have the 50th because he's the only guy in it. But it's all numbers thing. It's like how many guys are you taking? So it's kind of hard to rank basketball classes in this. But all in all, super, super exciting. I think this fan base needed a win over the last few weeks, and this was a great win to celebrate for sure. So,
absolutely, it's a great way to get it started. And I'm telling you, I think this is going to be a kid that people are going to see play early and be one of those fan favorites early on.
No question. So Simon Walker, 4-star on most of the publications out there. Welcome to Auburn. Very, very exciting stuff. Darrell, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
You can follow me on X, Dap6410. You can follow me on Instagram, Darrell Dap. And let me just say this, for what everybody is saying in the live chat, I totally agree. get used to that clean-shaven, soft, supple face. If Auburn beats Oklahoma Saturday, you ain't shaven until they lose another game, period.
Yeah, I will be. Well, or do I stay clean shaven? Well,
no, that's what I'm saying. You stay clean shaven, and you don't mess with that. If they win with you clean shaven, you stay clean shaven. Period.
Deal. Yeah, maybe the turnovers were tied to my beard. Who knows?
I think it was. They got lost in your beard.
Hey, that'd be great. What an easy fix. Sorry, Coach. Yeah. Sorry, Peyton. Sorry, Hank. That's on me. Hey, please like the video. Please subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.